Imagine standing face to face with an irate client. Their frustrations are palpable, their words sharp and cutting. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and the future of your business hangs in the balance. Now, picture yourself in your living room, mediating a heated argument between your teenage son and his grandma, two generations clashing over value and lifestyle choices. Two vastly different scenarios, yet the skills to navigate them successfully are remarkably similar. I'm Michelle, and I'm here to tell you that mastering the art of conflict resolution isn't just a professional skill. It's a life-changing superpower that can transform every aspect of your existence. Now, let me take you back to a pivotal moment in my career at Mojo Global. There we are LinkedIn experts who help companies grow their brand and fill their calendars with qualified leads. And I had a client, let's call him Paul, who came into our meeting radiating negativity. He started the conversation by yelling and cursing, telling me how he had wasted so much money on our services. The tension, it was so thick, folks, you could have cut it with a knife. But as I took a deep breath and prepared to speak, I realized I had been here before. Not in a client meeting, but in my own living room. You see, years ago, I had mediated a heated argument between my teenage son and his grandma. The skills that I used to bridge that generational gap were the exact same ones I needed to diffuse Paul's anger and save this business relationship. In both situations, I found myself facing a conflict that seemed insurmountable. But by applying the techniques of active listening, interest-based negotiation, and emotional management, I was able to turn these potential disasters into opportunities for growth, understanding. With Paul, once I was able to talk him through the situation calmly, we discovered that the root of the problem wasn't our service at all. No, we had kept our end of the contract, and we had booked him 20 qualified appointments on his calendar. The real issue? Paul had missed 18 of those appointments because he was struggling with the technology needed to attend them. Instead of reaching out for help, Paul had kept his frustration bottled up inside, allowing it to fester into anger. But by creating a safe space for Paul to express his real concerns and using active listening to hear his struggles, we were able to identify the true problem. And once he saw where those mistakes were, he decided to work with us, not against us. And we turned a potentially lost client into a loyal partner by addressing his underlying needs and fears. This experience mirrors the countless times I've had to navigate family conflicts, like the one between my son and his grandma. In both professional and personal spheres, the key to resolution lies in our ability to look beyond the surface level argument and address the deeper, often unspoken needs and concerns. Today, I'm going to ignite a fire within each of you, a passion for turning conflicts into catalysts for positive change. By the time we're done, you'll be armed with tools that will make you a master negotiator in high-stake client meetings and a peacemaker in your most cherished relationships. Are you ready? Are you ready to revolutionize your approach to conflict? Are you prepared to unleash your potential as a bridge builder in every area of your life? Then let's dive in. And let me show you how the art of conflict resolution can transform your world. First, we have to understand conflict. Before we can master conflict resolution, we need to understand what conflict really is. At its core, conflict is a clash of perceived threats to our needs, interests, or concerns. Now notice, I said perceived, because often the threat isn't real, but the perception alone is enough to ignite a firestorm. Let me take you back to my early days of my career in the car industry. Picture this. It's 2 days before the end of the month, and we're in a crucial team meeting. The sales numbers are falling short and the tension is palpable. I notice a flaw in our incentive structure and I speak up, thinking I'm helping. Suddenly, my colleague Tom erupts. "Are you saying I don't know how to do my job?" And in that moment, two worlds collided. In my mind, I was trying to help the team succeed. In Tom's mind, I was threatening his professional reputation. Two perceptions, one situation, instant conflict. Now, let's fast forward to that night with my son and his grandma. My intention was to create harmony in our blended family, but their perception was that I was taking sides or trying to control their relationship. Same pattern, different setting. These experiences taught me three crucial things about conflict. Number one, conflict is inevitable. In any situation where we interact with others, different perspectives and needs will naturally arise. Number two, the presenting issue is rarely the real issue. Whether it's in the dealership or a client like Paul or in the family disputes, conflicts often stem from deeper unspoken needs and fears. Number three, unresolved conflicts have a ripple effect. The tension from my work conflicts affected my home life and vice versa. Learning to address conflicts effectively in one area of your life can significantly improve other areas. Understanding these aspects of conflict was my first step towards better resolution. But understanding alone isn't enough. We need tools and techniques to address conflicts effectively. That's where professional negotiation skills come in, which is what we're going to explore next. Let's start with active listening. You see, active listening is one of the most powerful tools in conflict resolution, and it is something we often overlook. In my current role at Mojo Global, where understanding clients' needs is crucial, I've learned that active listening can make or break a business relationship. You remember Paul, the angry client I mentioned earlier? When he first started yelling, my instinct was to defend our company and our services. But instead, I forced myself to keep my mouth shut and listen. I asked questions to understand his frustrations better. Tell me more about your appointments you missed. Paul, what exactly happened? And as Paul spoke, I noticed his tone was changing. He wasn't just angry, he was embarrassed. He admitted that he struggled with the technology we use for our virtual meetings. And by truly listening, uncovered the real issue. One that we could easily solve with some additional training and support. This same skill proved invaluable in my personal life. When mediating between my son and his grandma, I made sure to give each of them time to express their feelings without interruption. By listening actively, I discovered that their conflict wasn't really about house rules, chores, or curfews. No, it was about feeling respected and valued in our blended family. You see, in both cases, active listening transformed potential disasters into opportunities for deeper understanding and better outcomes. Now, another crucial skill that I've honed is interest-based negotiation. This approach focuses on understanding the underlying interests in all parties rather than getting stuck on stated positions. In my work at Mojo Global, this skill is put to the test daily as we work with clients to help them grow their businesses and obtain new leads. And I remember one particular client who was struggling to close sales despite our efforts to generate qualified leads. Initially, the client was frustrated and insisted that we were not providing enough support for him. Their position was firm. You need to do more to make these leads convert. Instead of arguing about our level of service, I asked a simple question. What specific challenges are you facing when you're trying to close these leads, John? This opened a whole new conversation. It turned out that John was struggling with their sales pitch and felt unprepared to handle objections from his potential customers. And you see, once we understood these underlying issues, we were able to structure our support in a way that addressed the real problems. We developed a coaching program to help him improve their sales techniques and objection handling. We also worked together to refine their approach for breaking into new market segments. The results was transformational. Not only did the client's close rate improve dramatically, but our relationship strengthened as they saw our commitment to their overall success, not just lead generation or brand expansion. This collaborative approach laid the groundwork for a long-term, mutually beneficial partnership. You know, I've applied this same approach at home. When my son and his grandma were arguing about chores, instead of focusing on specific tasks, I asked them about their concerns. My son's interest was about having more independence, while his grandma's was ensuring safety and him learning the task of responsibility. You see, understanding these interests allowed us to find a solution that addressed both needs. A flexible chore schedule based on my son demonstrating responsible behavior. Setting a curfew that took into allowance his own responsibility. By focusing on interests rather than positions, we turn potential conflicts into win-win situations. Now we want to talk about adapting communication styles. Just as we adapt our communication style with various clients, we can apply that skill in all our interactions. At Mojo Global, I've learned to adjust my communication style based on the client's personality and preferences. For example, when presenting to a data-driven tech company, and I'm talking to their CEO, I focus on metrics, ROI, and hard facts. But when I'm pitching to a creative agency, I'm emphasizing storytelling and visual impact. This flexibility has allowed me to connect with a diverse range of clients and win business that might otherwise have gone to my competitors. I've found this skill equally valuable in my personal life. You see, when discussing house rules with my analytically minded son, I come prepared with clear, logical arguments. But when dealing with a more emotionally driven family member, I focus on feelings and personal experiences to find common ground. By adapting my communication style, I'm able to connect more effectively with different personalities, whether in client meetings or family discussions. Now, let's talk about managing emotions in high-stake situations. You see, the skill of managing emotions in a high-pressured situation is critical, whether you're facing an angry client like Paul or a family crisis. When Paul started yelling and cursing at me, I could literally feel my own anger and defensiveness rising, but I knew that losing my cool would only escalate the situation. Instead, I took a deep breath or two, acknowledged his frustration, and calmly guided the situation and the conversation toward problem solving. By managing my own emotions, I was able to keep the discussion focused and productive. We not only salvaged the client relationship, but strengthened it by showing my commitment to Paul's success. This same skill proved invaluable during the heated arguments between my son and his grandma. You see, by staying calm and focused, I was able to create a safe space for both of them to express their feelings and then find a way to work toward a viable resolution. In both scenarios, managing emotions wasn't about suppressing feelings, but about channeling them productively to handle the situation at hand. Now, let's talk about developing your negotiation and conflict skills. Now that we've explored those critical skills, let's talk about how you can develop and strengthen them in your own life. Number 1, let's talk about active listening. Challenge yourself to really listen in your next conversation, whether it's with a client or a family member. Try the 3-second rule. Wait 3 seconds after someone finishes speaking before you respond. You'll be amazed at how much more you will hear. Number 2, seek win-win solutions. In your next disagreement, whether at work or at home, try to identify the underlying interests of all parties. Ask yourself, what does this person really need? You might find that seemingly opposing positions have compatible underlying interests. Number 3, adapt your communication. Pay attention to how different people in your life communicate. Do they prefer facts or stories, details or big pictures? And then practice adjusting your style to match theirs and watch your connections deepen. Number 4, manage your emotions. The next time you feel your emotions rising in a high-stakes situation, pause and take 3 deep breaths. This simple act can help you regain composure and think more clearly. Number 5, reflection and continuous learning. After each conflict or negotiation, take a few minutes to reflect. What worked well? What could have you done differently? You see, each interaction is an opportunity to refine your skills. Remember, developing these skills is a journey, not a destination. Each interaction, whether with a difficult client or a family member, is an opportunity to practice and improve. I want you to imagine 2 scenarios. In the first, you're sitting across from an angry client. Their words are harsh and accusing. But now, armed with your conflict resolution skills, you respond with calm and empathy. You listen actively, identify underlying interests, adapt your communication style, and manage the emotional temperature of the room. Slowly, the tension dissipates. Understanding grows, and a solution emerges that strengthens your business relationship. In the second scenario, you're at home, facing a family disagreement that would have once devolved into hurting feelings and slammed doors. But this time, you apply the same skills. You listen without judgment. You seek to understand each person's needs. You communicate with empathy and keep your own emotions in check. The conflict transforms into a meaningful conversation, strengthening your family's bonds. These aren't just hypothetical scenarios. They're the real-world results of mastering conflict resolution. I stand before you today not as someone who has all the answers, but as a walking, talking, living, breathing testament to the power of conflict resolution. They've helped me save client relationships at Mojo Global, and they have mended priceless family bonds. They've turned potential disasters into opportunities for growth, both in my career and in my personal life. So I challenge you, no, I implore you, to take these skills, and put them into practice. Start today. Start now. Listen more deeply. Seek to understand before being understood. Adapt your approach and manage your emotions. In doing so, you're not just improving your own life, you're creating ripples of positive change that can transform your workspace, your home, and even your community. You have the power to turn every conflict into an opportunity for growth and connection. The boardroom and the living room might seem worlds apart, but the skills that bring success in one can bring harmony to the other. You have the power to be a master negotiator and a family peacemaker, a client relationship savior, and a compassionate friend. Together, we can build a world with less conflict and more understanding, one conversation at a time. The power is in your hands, so use it wisely, use it often, and watch as it transforms your world. Thank you.